Let's be honest, I know why you're here. You finished your time with Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, any Fallout game within the franchise, and you're looking for another hit of that sweet Nuka victory. Well, I got you. I played every Fallout DLC in release order, finished the main story, along with most, if not all of the side content that the DLCs had to offer. Yes, it was a lot. Does it look like I slept? I'll be ranking every DLC on a tier list. This is the full rating system because people get upset that it's letters instead of numbers, or that I'm not ranking them worst to best.
Oh, this is very nice.
It's a tier list, and just a fun video, so don't take it too seriously, as most of my opinions will be different from yours. There's 13 DLCs in total that involve story or some type of quest line attached to them. All others that are additive, like New Vegas's Arsenal Collection or Fallout 4's high-res texture pack. It's just not comparable to the others, but for those that will say, well, you never actually ranked all the DLCs, there you go. So join me for this wild coaster of a ride through all of the Fallout DLCs, diving into the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not here to judge or yuck anyone's yum. So kick back, relax, and enjoy the first... Oh no! I must have downloaded radware from that totally unsuspicious Superman website! That's not a problem, Mickey. We'll replace your terminal and hook you up with Vault-Tec VPN. What's that? I'm glad you asked, Mickey. Vault-Tec VPN. The fastest virtual private network in the market. Don't you hate it when raiders track and sell your information to the synths? Well, say goodbye to that. Random pop-ups for local ghouls in your area. Block that and throw it out of town. I've had many instances of my subscription services being hacked into, but since using Vault-Tec VPN, all my passwords and personal information is secure thanks to the powerful encryption software Vault-Tec provides. Not only that, but it's extremely easy to navigate, so use the URL provided. This has been a fake ad for Vault-Tec VPN. Thank you for letting me waste your time, but how about this? 3 months on the house. I'm telling you, it's the most insane deal this side of Appalachia. Gee, thanks, sir. I'm not even a swift learner, and this app is a piece of cake. Call that a Nuka victory. Right? Guys? So kick back, relax, and enjoy the first Fallout 3 DLC, Operation Anchorage. Operation Anchorage was an interesting DLC in that the sole purpose is to help the Brotherhood of Steel outcasts open the Virtual Strategic Solutions Armory, which they believe still holds advanced technology and weaponry. Obviously, this is true. To open this, you're tasked with completing a simulation of the greatest battle within the Fallout universe, which is the liberation of Anchorage, Alaska, where you fight against the Chinese forces. The entire DLC seems very gamey in that you have checkpoints along your journey with health, ammo, and weaponry supplies, which I thought was decent, but made the adventure a relatively easy one. This isn't a challenging DLC, and that's fine if the story is really built out, but the plot is very baseline. Finish the simulation and you get the loot, but if you die in the game, you die in real life type of vibes. I really enjoyed the environment, that blue tint covering a wasteland of snow-covered mountains and battlefield. It was just a different experience that we don't get in the Fallout games. The concepts that are introduced in the middle where you deploy a squad to come with you to complete missions, like bringing a bunch of infantrymen, grenadiers, a sentry bot. So there's a few choices there that make it fun and unique. What makes this DLC not stand out too much for me is you're kind of just along for the ride. The final boss is General Jing Wei, who you never really get introduced to. There's no build up, so when you finish him off, you're pulled back to the waste and ready for your reward. You do get an insane arsenal of weapons and the most broken power armor of the game in the T-51B. While this is obviously great, it becomes more of a, let me rush through the DLC to get the best equipment in the game compared to, oh, I can't wait to help the outcasts again because I really enjoyed that story. With that being said, it was a fine start to the collection, and Operation Anchorage gets a C. The Pitt.
And what are you doing in my city?
The way this DLC felt so different compared to Operation Anchorage is wild. The entire story is way more of a traditional decision of what's right and wrong. The Pitt has you follow this man named Werner, a past slave of the Pit, and wants you to infiltrate this society of raiders being led by Asher, the raider boss. While you're there, you learn about this mutation, the troglodyte degeneration contagion, that has stricken a portion of the people there to become what's known as trogs, these aggressive monsters of flesh and bone. I think this DLC is fantastic. It gives the player a good bit of choice, as well as culminating this environment which is creepy and suspenseful and thrilling. It's best described as hearing about a monster in a horror movie, and this general build-up of what the fuck is out there? What could these things look like? And how strong are they? There were multiple times where I flinched or jumped while in the pit because 1, the trogs are extremely stealthy and make little to no noise, and 2, because the atmosphere amplifies this with the environment and sound design. It's an overall great experience, gives you a great melee weapon, tons of jet for all of your daily slow-mo needs, and a few side missions that change the pace of the DLC for the better.
Is the little scab looking to get hurt? And the little scab better get out of my face. Ha!
I really can't think of anything wrong with the pit. They did a great job, and I really enjoyed my time with it. It's an S. Broken Steel.
War never changes.
This is generally the most unmemorable DLC of Fallout 3. The story is having you see the finished product of your dad's work with Project Purity, and destroying the last Enclave base within the Wasteland, which you would think would have some really interesting content. The only interesting aspect is which settlement you want to destroy, which is either the Citadel or the AFB platform, which is the controlled base that the Enclave have. There are other options like Project Purity's location, Megaton, Rivet City, but you're never actually able to target those places. It gives you the illusion of control when the game kind of railroads you into only picking the Enclave, which is fine. I kind of wish there was more dialogue with the Enclave leaders to give a proper selling point as to why you should side with them. But it's never given, and they throw a million enemies at you while you push your way to the Brotherhood of Steel Vertibird. Along with the many strong Enclave enemies, you could tell they didn't have tons of substance because environment just feels like Fallout 3, which I do love, but have that be in the base game. Operation Anchorage and the Pit have you travel to completely different locations to where you immediately know it's something new, something fresh, something you paid extra for. Also, they made the feral ghoul roamers in this to be Neo from The Matrix with how much they spaz out and dodging to the point where I just waste piles of ammo. Broken Steel does let you continue playing past the main story with a raised level cap, so additional accessibility is great, and that's probably the only redeeming quality of this DLC. So yeah, it's pretty disappointing in terms of like everything else. Broken Steel gets an E. Point Lookout.
You are not welcome in this place.
Right away, the story gets you hooked with helping the main NPC, Desmond, this stern ghoul who has this deep-pitted rivalry with the evil entity of the island, Professor Culvert. The island you explore is desolate and mysterious, being said that no one returns once they travel there. Classic intro to a suspenseful atmosphere. I think that's what makes both Point Lookout and the Pit so appealing to me, are just the environments that they're set in. They're very dark, very grim, which has unique enemies appropriate for the area that the content takes place, but also captures a riveting story that you feel compelled to stay in your seat and see what happens next. While you go along your adventure through this map, which is very open, and I believe is 1/5 the size of the regular Fallout 3 map, you discover these hills have eyes looking hillbillies that are both terrifying to fight against, but also have these funny voice lines that make you chuckle at. This story leads you to this interesting part where you're having this spiritual trip in this forest, and may even show that your character has built up trauma from what he's endured over the years. I don't know, I'm just spitting at this point. This rivalry between Culver and Desmond turns into something wild, and I'll save the spoilers for those that still want to play, but I personally thought it was fantastic. Point Lookout also has the best side quests of all Fallout 3 DLC. It adds a lot more time spent there, and really, I wish this DLC was longer. Give me more. I was itching for more. I think that's when you know the content you paid for was worth it. I was really being pulled between the Pitt and Point Lookout being placed as A or S, and I can really see them both being interchangeable from a day-to-day basis. But while writing this script, I think Point Lookout, for me, gets a very strong A. Mothership Zeta.
And Godspeed.
This is probably one of the weirdest DLCs to rank because I know that, like, there's no story besides the implication that the aliens started the war, which is dumb as fuck. And the characters that you wake up out of cryo sleep provide just services like making biogels that amplify healing, or repair your equipment, and the majority of your time spent on this ship, which is really just corridors of tinted blue or tinted yellow copy-pasted everywhere. I still had fun, and I think that's a testament to many, if not all of the DLCs, that while I'm giving Mothership Zeta a lower score, it's still weirdly a good time. Like, I think the setting is really interesting and bizarre, and the weapons you get are a general blast to use, along with just being able to use a death ray or having a Star Trek-like ship battle at the end. The content is just fun and doesn't really take itself seriously. I can definitely see people being upset for paying for this because, like I said, minimal story and maybe 2 hours of content with no replayability because you can't go back to the lower parts of the ship and explore, which does suck. I think it's just fun vaporizing hordes of little screaming aliens. Here's the best way to describe it. When I go to see Godzilla vs. King Kong or the 15th Fast and Furious movie, am I going to go in hoping for this deep-seated masterpiece that involves generational storytelling? No. I'm going to eat a small popcorn which costs $32, guzzle down a Mega Slurp slushie that I spill on my shirt, and have a good time. I don't even know why I defended that so much because I gave Mothership Zeta a D. Many highs and many lows for Fallout 3, so let's see what's in store for Fallout New Vegas. And I'm not gonna lie, I've already read tons of your unhinged New Vegas fan comments in my last video. If you're a part of that community, clean it the fuck up. You guys get a terrible reputation and your reputation precedes you, and I feel that Northern Lion said it best with this clip.
New Vegas Sun or Morrowind Daughter? Honestly, Morrowind Daughter. I would have said New Vegas Sun because I love the game until I saw the unhinged comment that was left on Cobalt Streaks episode 1 of Cobalt Plays Fallout New Vegas. That was like, I'm just for my own entertainment, I'm going to point out a live commentary of all the mistakes you made. So I'm starting to feel like the New Vegas Andes are not going to make heaven, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Do I agree? Dead money.
I'll let all of you go.
This DLC is such a great time. You start off being lured to this distress signal where you're captured and tasked by Father Elijah to help break into the Sierra Madre casino, and I just realized that I just said it's a great time being lured in by a stranger. First, you have to rally up 3 helping hands in Dog/God, Dean Domino, and Kristen Royce. All of these characters feel so incredibly written and have so much depth with them that you can talk to them for a while just to find out their underlying secrets and who they were before finding themselves trapped in this villa. The story leads you into the Sierra Madre casino, which has vast areas of puzzle solving, stealth, hacking, and lockpicking situations, so you really benefit from having those skills leveled out, leading into this grand overarching love letter of a story, and you really need to play this if you haven't. So much time and effort and passion was shown within this, and a massive drawing point for me was that the atmosphere was fantastic, but also the idea that you start with nothing. You're in this collar that can explode at any minute if Elijah so chooses, and radio signals can interfere with the collar, which also makes it explode. You're given these beeps of warning when coming close to areas that affect it, and I really enjoyed that. It keeps you on your toes. It kept the questing thrilling, and there were instances of difficulty, sure, but never did I feel the game was overly challenging. It was the perfect mix of story, engagement, suspense, and challenge that I was like, these guys are cooking. And by the end, you really do understand why it's called Dead Money. This gets an S. Honest Hearts. This felt like such an average DLC because the story about Joshua Graham was way more compelling and interesting than the actual story that you went on. The entire story of the people of this land with the dead horses, the sorrows, and the whitelegs, I basically just didn't care too much. You have a decision in that you can agree with Joshua Graham that you should retake the land of Zion for the dead horses and the sorrows, or evacuate the sorrows, who are this spiritual and peaceful group led by Daniel. I don't know his last name. They never gave him a last name. He's just Daniel. I ended up siding with Joshua to see if there was something interesting coming, like this big battle of the tribespeople. Or maybe it would send us to a more interesting part of this map, since this canyon environment felt very basic. At the end, you really just get Joshua as a follower and run to the Whitelegs' main camp, where you bring their leader to justice. It kind of reminds me of Operation Anchorage, where the enemy's main leader you just never have contact with, so you don't know what you're expecting, and you just have him fight for his life, or Joshua executes him. It's just an anticlimactic finish, and even the side content was relatively boring. They give quite a few new weapons, which really I try to use as many weapons or armor in each DLC, and these felt fun overall, though it was pretty middle of the ground for me. And I have to say, Honest Hearts just gets a C. Old World Blues.
Save us all. In the name of science. Please?
I really enjoyed a lot of pieces of this DLC. Tons of humorous and interesting dialogue that you can go through and keep diving deeper into. I think the setting is really interesting in that you're placed in Big Mountain, or the Big Empty, this crater of testing facilities scattered around with powerful technology, crazy enemies, and just so much you can do and explore here. The story is also a great part of Old World Blues. I really grew to like it, and I feel that this DLC is much more driven towards the players that love lore, because Old World Blues connects to Dead Money, in that you can find holotapes from some of the characters that you had met previously. You see these exploding prisoner collars and outfits from Dead Money, and find Elijah's weapon, the LAR. It's a really cool interlace in that it immerses you in feeling like you're in the same world. While this has many great things, I think there are many areas that drop off. There's probably 2 instances of dialogue where the game is just yapping at you. The first one is right when you arrive. I believe that's 30 minutes straight. I was like exhausted and antsy, just wanting to get out and see the world. And then another at the end, which is like 15 minutes, and I don't mind dialogue, just split it up a little bit. Along with that, whatever anyone says about tanky and spongy enemies, nothing beats this DLC. I found myself shooting an immeasurable amount of bullets and cells and shells at enemies. Yes, I use the photon gun that they provide for you. It's slow and uses 8 shots for every one of the enemies. Even the weak canine enemies took a very long time to finish off. It became ridiculous, and don't even get me started on the Robo-Scorpions. It was like shooting pebbles at a brick wall. So that became a slog, to be honest. And then finally, I don't know if it's the DLC, or if the game was having a boxing match with my PC, but this crashed like 7 times during the playthrough, and I know what you're gonna say, there's a mod for that. I really shouldn't need a mod to play the game. I still think it's great, but those many instances made me lose momentum, and feel as though parts were placed for time wasters over anything. Regardless, Old World Blues gets an A. Lonesome Road.
This is your road. When you come, you'll walk it alone.
Lonesome Road is really a tying together of your story as a courier, before the Mojave and before you, the player, takes control and begins your story. It involves Ulysses, who was the original Courier 6, and he gives you this task to find him within the Divide, where everything will be shown and told to you. You have to fight your way past tunnelers, marked men, and deathclaws while being given a huge arsenal and a weapon to remote detonate warheads within the Divide. You're also given a great companion in Eddie, who relays messages back and forth between you and Ulysses, as well as giving you background information of what once was. It's honestly just really fun with what you're given, and it feels like a last fight. Like you feel as though you and Ulysses are both going down with this final battle, and that's what really keeps you engaged the entire way through. Running through this area is a real eye-opener when you hear how everything came to be, and it's an entire prologue of your life. I loved hearing about it, and while it's nothing more than you and this man talking and running through a gauntlet of misery, this Lonesome Road, you're really gravitated towards what happens at the end. Obviously, there are a number of decisions at the end, and once again, don't want to give away anything. You really just have to play it to see how great this last DLC is. We round off New Vegas and Lonesome Road by giving it an S. New Vegas has some great DLC, it's just a solid collection. Which brings us over the river and through the dugout to Fallout 4 in the first installation, Automatron.
Now you'll face the full might of the Mechanist! Come, my robots! Let's finish this!
While this is mainly an update to build robots at every one of your settlements to help out, along with Bethesda trying out this model of what Fallout would look like with no NPCs to get ready for Fallout 76's launch, I personally enjoyed running through Automatron. The story can be summed up as this person called the Mechanist who discovers this industrial factory where they begin to construct and grow a robot army to help the people of the Commonwealth against raiders, supermutants, and other aggressive creatures. An error occurs with one of her robo-brains, which leads to her robots killing everyone they encountered. The best part and the lasting part of this DLC is being able to make your ideal robot companion, and these are extremely strong. I ran with Ada the whole time. This robot's courier company was killed, and she wanted to get to the bottom of it. So your character is there to help them. But making or modifying robot companions is a blast. I can see tons of people out there loving this aspect, and I definitely got into it because as you kill these deranged robots, you can loot them for specific parts, different torsos, arms, legs, added defenses, or upgrade attacks. You can change out the color, change their voice, give them a name. There's some nice substance that this first Fallout 4 DLC gives, and as the final battle, you face the Mechanist and their army of bots. It's just a good time and made me put quite a few perk points into science and armor to be able to get more advanced with the bot making. And I ended up running the Mechanist armor for literally the rest of the time that I played Fallout 4. Sometimes you don't need this convoluted story of twists and turns with tens of characters to enjoy yourself. Sometimes it's fun to just watch a couple of robots beat the shit out of each other. It literally reminded me of BattleBots back in the day. And I'm just now finding out that BattleBots is still on TV. And I'll give Automatron a B. Far Harbor.
Careful. This could get out of hand real fast.
When I say this, I don't mean it lightly. Far Harbor is a fantastic, spectacular, mondo mega, amazing experience. There isn't a single thing I can think of that I didn't enjoy while playing this DLC. Not only does it have incredible storytelling with multiple groups of completely different people, but the replayability factor with Far Harbor is grand. This has 3 divisions of people, the ones at Far Harbor, which are the people of the docks, ones who have been overrun on the island and this is their last home, their last chance at living here. And these are the first people that you meet as you travel to Far Harbor from the Commonwealth. They're constantly being attacked by creatures of the fog, and your job is to help these people shore up their defenses while also expanding out to see if there's a future for them. Other groups you find will be Dima and the Synths, as well as the Children of Adam. All of these people are somewhat against each other, or have a very fragile line between one another, and this is where you can dive so far into whatever group you want. I stayed primarily close to Far Harbor and the synths, while really not caring for the children of Adam. The island in general is fairly big, with multiple locations for side questing, many challenging enemies and quest lines that you go through, new enemies as well, which keeps it incredibly fresh. This was one of the longest DLCs on this list, and I felt that there's tons of stuff that I had yet to uncover. It was such an expansive piece of content, many things happen, and if there was a single DLC that I would recommend to someone to play, it would be this one. It's just that great from literally every angle you look at it. It's got story, it's got gameplay, it's got atmosphere.
It's about drive, it's about power.
So much atmosphere. It's got decisions that you really have to think about what you want to do. General hard decisions. As you can assume, Far Harbor is Fallout's gem for DLC, and it gets an S. Tec Workshop. The reason this is here instead of all the other Fallout 4 workshops or Gear DLCs is because this actually has a storyline. You're tasked with helping Overseer Barstow rebuild and continue the experimental part of Vault 88. This type of content is for anyone who has wanted to build a vault. I can see people getting really crafty with this type of space. Tons of different areas and plots of land to build in, reconstruct and gather settlers. Is this something I would enjoy? Partially, but in terms of story, it's pretty boring. The characters are kind of quirky, but once again, it never leads to this big grand reveal. You are the architect in this vault creation, and that's cool in some ways, but speaking for myself, I don't really care for it. And that's why it's an E. Nuka World. I love the vibe of this DLC. It's a literal theme park with bots or enemies that are Nuka themed, and I enjoyed this experience. Much of the map is dedicated to the 3 bands of raiders, and since you defeated the overboss at the beginning, you become the overboss to instruct, guide, and spread the wealth however you see fit between these 3 raider groups. I can see the creators saw the response and success of Far Harbor and thought that by creating another world which involves 3 entirely different groups of people, that it would receive the same praise and reception. Nuka World has many great areas with different locations having different themes. With this many themes, it keeps the quest lines fresh with constant changes of environments and enemies you fight along the way. Eventually you come to realize that as you defeat these themed areas and clear them of enemies, you're able to give one of the 3 raider groups that area to reside in. And farther out, you're told that the raiders want to expand into the Commonwealth. From there, it becomes this settlement building and expanding of your raider groups, killing or talking to surrounding settlements to give portions of their supplies over to you as well. Of course, you don't need to do any of this. You can say fuck it and kill every raider in the park, which isn't a bad idea, since they're keeping literal collared slaves, which are named traders, for the sense of seeming appealing. There's a bunch of content to be done here with many different power armors, weapons, and varieties of Nuka-Colas to slug down.
Please, no more! I've had so many! Just drink the damn soda! Yeah. That's good. It's good. It's good.
Like I said at the beginning, it's just kind of a vibe. A bit anticlimactic at the end and gives a game loop to the player where if you don't enjoy settlement building and expanding, you probably won't enjoy this as much. I made it clear that I didn't really like the Vault-Tec DLC for this reason, but Nuka World gives a variety of content and enjoyable times with many secrets and tons of characters to interact with, that the amount of time spent here, which this is the longest DLC out of everything that we've covered, it feels very rewarding. Originally, I was leaning towards B with this one, but even doing content at the end of the DLC had me smiling and just having a fun time. So it deserves to be a solid A. Here is the final look of the tier list in all of its radiated glory. I hope you all enjoyed. I wanted to thank many of you who have been there to support me by commenting on my videos or liking my shorts or even being there for my live streams. We just hit 3,000 subscribers and I appreciate every single person who's been there for that. So as always, thank you for watching. Please give this video a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.
Call that a Nuka victory.